Look, I need you watching our backs. You're a better shot than I am.
Huh, really?
No?
Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Gears of War 4 Insane Difficulty video walkthrough. This is Act 4, Chapter 2. It is no detours, and as you push down this valley just here, there's going to be a firefight coming up. And there's a couple of firefights on this mission, and I believe there is a weather section. But for the most, it's pretty par for the course. There's nothing that stands out here as something that's going to kick you when you're down or stand in your way. But we are getting closer to the boss that's going to get a lot of people stumped. And it's not going to get you stumped because you don't know what to do. And it's not going to get you stumped because it's any real reflection on you as a player. It's going to get you stumped because it just expects a lot of you, and then spawns a ton of enemies to back up a boss that really didn't need it. And I am a fervent believer that if your boss needs help, maybe you didn't design it very well. And we've already fought Brumacs that could fight for themselves, and they did have a few enemies with them, but it's nothing like what this game does, and I just don't get that. I don't understand this idea that they need to force this unnecessary pressure on the player all the time, because essentially the Brumac is simple. It is a creature that has 2 attacks. It shoots you with rather weirdly ambidextrous arms that can shoot you even though it's not looking at you, and it's still pointing at you with its weird wonky arm. And it has missiles, which have this wonderful magic bullet principle where every so often they'll do nothing, and every other time they'll just find you like the hand of God. And there's no middle ground. It's either, wow, he fired 50 missiles at me and none of them came close, or he fired 1 and it hit me in the mouth. And it doesn't really coalesce into any kind of pattern or anything to avoid. Like, you can't avoid the Brumac's missiles because they just kind of go random, and you just sit and cover and hope you don't die. And that's not my idea of avoidance. That's my idea of being like, well, I hope it works this time. And I've always disliked that about Gears. But the cover here is transient, so if the pods burst, you aren't going to have cover much longer, and of course if the pods burst, there's a chance that they can have juvies in them. I'm not too sure if it's a probability, I'm not too sure if it's pre-programmed. All I know is that every so often, little scrubbers come out of those pods and become assholes, and then I hit them with things, so you should probably do the same as another asshole turns up as his cue, and you hear the scream and a bunch more pods go, and you realise you're in the middle of a bit of a trap, and I'm in a juvie sandwich. Not a good place to be, but Dell saves me, and I managed to back up and recover, and... or was it Kate? It might have been Kate, actually. I think it was Kate, yeah. So my missus, or my pre-missus, saves me, which is nice to see, and that dude is on his knees. So we've got a nest just over this crest. I have a rifle, because I really like this weapon. Wow, did you see the spatter on her face? You wouldn't kiss her, would you? Jesus. I don't even know what locust blood is like, but it's, you know, it's not clean. Don't do it. Think, boys and girls, it's not fun being ill. But wow, the heads are popping freely right now because they keep standing around like idiots. I love it. And of course, Dell comes along to steal the cover, because why would he not? Ooh, somebody threw a grenade. Nice grenade. But I believe at this moment in time I should probably focus on sealing the emergence hole, because it gives the... see what I mean? Extra spawns. And unfortunately, he was perfectly covered by the rock. Or I could have taken his head, which would have been nice. This is Gears 1 Multiplayer 101. If you know anything about, you know, using the cover to your advantage, which in almost every third-person shooter walkthrough that I've used, I've done a variant on this mechanic. Believe it or not, it never really worked in Gears outside of the sniper. The third-person cover trick in Gears was just how Gears worked, because you couldn't swap the shoulders. So a lot of people used, you know, moving around the right-hand side of things as Kate gets in my way again, and I try and incentivize her to move, but of course the cover's just too delicious, so she sticks a big fat head in my way. There goes the grub. Oh, he's back now. Of course, this piece of cover's just too much delicious to let me have it. I'm pretty low on weapons, so I'm probably going to steal some off this dude. Can I steal some off you? No? Due to the beginning of this level being a little bit harsh, I don't have the amenities to thrash these people as thoroughly as I would have enjoyed, but as I mentioned, there's no real fights here, guys, that are going to get you stuck for too long. There's just a little bit of a siege against this first hollow of locusts. And if I'd have had a grenade, I might have been able to end that one nice and sweet. Or if you have an explosive like a torque bow or a boom shot, if you brought one of those with you from the fights, then you can use that. I do think it's an interesting choice how the game allows you to carry what you took from the last mission, even if it's to your detriment. You would think that they would have made a greater effort to put a lot of resources at the beginning of each stage just to give you some choice if you came out badly. Like, after you fight the Swarmak boss, you will go into the next level with whatever you brought from that fight, and if you're anything like me, it's 2 empty guns. So when the next fight begins, you don't have anything. And I just... It really baffles my mind that we can be put in a situation after being called on so severely to overcome ridiculous odds that they wouldn't at least give us, you know, a hand, like a leg up in the next area. Because the next area is just like, I hope you brought something, because they did. And it's just, that's it. And I kind of like it too, because it means if you can do the previous section really well, you can bring a great advantage to the next area, and you can never blame the game for taking things off you. And there are so many moments in walkthroughs that I've made where I've said, like, you know, the checkpoint's here, you'll notice I'm using a different gun because the game took it off me, and it didn't give me the opportunity to try again. And there is a middle ground that is needed between, you know, starting a player without a single bullet to his name in a firefight at the beginning of a mission, and, you know, starting him at a checkpoint, taking all his weapons away. You know, there needs to be a middle ground between those extremes, I think. As we move into the storm here, which... I really like the storm aesthetic in this game. I think it's cool. It would have been nice if there was a little bit more to it. I would have liked maybe the lightning to be a bit more dynamic. So instead of just, oh, it's a lightning flare moment, it could passively happen. Watch this, by the way. Look at that. That is amazing. 2 scions. Massive, hulking, intimidating fortresses of creatures. Felled by just the weather. And a little incentive from a lancer. That, to me, beautiful design. Really fun. I'm so happy that's a part of this level. And you don't have to do that if you want to shoot them, you know. But it's just great that you can do that. And I love that kind of thing. And I wish the game had more of it. Because it does seem like a gimmick sometimes, doesn't it? You know, when you have those environmental moments and then you don't see them for ages. Like, you remember on Gears of War 2, at the beginning of the game in the hospital, when there was those red propane tanks that blew up, and they were really overt, and you're like, why are they here? They stuck out like a sore thumb. And then you used them on that level, and then you never saw them. Like, you saw maybe 1 or 2, but you never saw them. Gears 1 had those white propane tanks, and they were everywhere. They were through the entire game. There were some secret ones that helped you kill boomers in a massive firefight, which was cool, by sinking essentially part of the land. But they were a constant in the game. You needed them in certain sections to get past the krill. Like, they were a constant. In the second game, they're like, well, we'll add red ones, and then we'll do naught with them. And I never got that. It was one of those, what if we show them that you can shoot? Oh, by the way, do you see what it does to the grenade? Grenades don't work in the storms. You might wonder why I didn't use them. It makes perfect sense, but I think it's really cool. And the storm affects everything. Trajectories on your boom shots, trajectories on your torque bows, every single kind of trajectory weapon that is not bullet based is affected by the storm. It's a cool touch, and it means that you have to approach it really differently. And it'd be cool if they'd created a weapon that was kind of exclusive for the storm. Like, there's a machine later on in the game that has a stapler. It's an industrial stapler, and it's so cool. It reminds me of the nail gun from Quake. It's just one of the, or maybe Alan Wake, you know, American Nightmare, where you could use the nail gun in that. Like, I just love this idea of using an industrial tool to kill things. It's Dead Space all over again. Give me something that's not meant to hurt people and is meant to build construction things and turn it into a weapon, and you have something that I find cool. And all it is like a Warhammer 40k machine gun looking bulky gun, but it fires staples. And I love that. Like, I just love this idea of a unique weapon for a certain sequence, and it makes me wish that that weapon was shrunk down to an assault rifle in the game to just give us a little bit more diversity, because we've got Hammerburst, we've got Retro, you know, we've got Lancer. They've created some new submachine guns, but it would be nice to have like a new assault rifle, but they didn't do that, it seems. You know, they did it in Judgment with the marksman rifle, I have no idea how that affected the balance of the multiplayer because I've never fought against it. But it seems like a decent addition. It's kind of like the battle rifle to the cast, maybe. By the way, guys, if you touch those parts that are still spazzing out with electricity, or if you touch any of the like sweeping tongues of lightning, they kill you really fast. You know, there's no messing around with weather, it just fucks you up. But once you hit this door, you're done. So thank you for watching, and you take care now.